Hello, Vibers, and welcome to the Vibe with Kai podcast. It's your boy Kai, and I'm so excited to be sitting here with digital creator, and I want to make sure I say this right. Synesthesia.
Synesthesia. Yes.
Synesthesia. Whew, I'm gonna get it right by the time this is done. With digital creator and synesthesia artist Sarah Kraning. I'm super excited to be sitting with you right now because we became like good friends like fairly recently, and now we get to after hanging out with you at the Libera Awards, which we'll talk about in a second. I was like, oh, I have to have her on my podcast. I have to like sit and talk with her because she is a fascinating person. So I'm happy that you're here.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be able to chat. I was just saying, just being able to talk to you more is so great.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited. For those of you that don't know, Sarah it has auditory-visual synesthesia. Synesthesia is a rare neural cross-wiring of the senses, say that 5 times fast, and it causes Sarah to see colors and patterns and textures whenever she hears sound. It's a fascinating thing. She's had it, if I'm not mistaken, you had it your entire life.
Yeah.
Like as when you were born, like it just like kind of just happened. You're like, oh shit, this is happening right now.
That's exactly what I said to myself too. I was years old and I went, oh shit,
what is happening right now? Yeah, I'm so happy to have you here. I want to get right into it here because there's so much that I want to talk to you about. But the first thing I want to talk about is what we got to do fairly recently. We got to, you invited me to be your guest at the Libera Awards, which are at Webster Hall in New York City, which was such a fun, incredible event. Thank you again for inviting me.
Thank you. I was it was such a random thing because we didn't really know each other well yet, but we had some mutual friends, and I was looking for somebody to hang out with at this event celebrating indie artists, and they kind of introduced me to you, and I was so glad. We had such a great time.
Oh, it was so much fun. Absolutely. No, thank you so much. And we're actually going to, a little bit later, we're actually going to be talking about the company that you work for, Artist Growth, which is one of the main reasons why we went in the first place. So we're definitely going to be talking about that. But let's start off with synesthesia, because there's a lot to kind of dive into here. So I know you said you were born with it, but I guess when did you fully, understand what was kind of happening? What point in your life did that happen for you?
Yeah, I mean, so when did I know that I had something that was maybe a little different? Or I mean, early. So I going back to when I was 6 years old, I could tell that I had some sort of difference with how I processed sound compared to the people around me. But I didn't know how to really verbalize it and to talk about it. So, sometimes with my friends and with my parents, I would mention the color of a sound, or I would mention, the color, the texture, the shape. And I would be met with confusion or sometimes giggles. They weren't mean, but it was enough that I could tell, okay, either they don't believe me, or and then flat out when I was 7 years old, my mom said, oh, that's cute, Sarah, but you're not actually seeing that.
Wow.
So pretty young, and this is a pretty common experience for people with synesthesia. I just learned there's something that is different. It's not something I feel like I should maybe talk about. I don't think it's a bad thing, but I'm going to stop talking about it. So probably around 7, I stopped talking about it. And then it wasn't until I was 22 and I was going to school for, I was in a lot of neuroscience classes, and I learned about synesthesia and then did some testing for it, and real quickly had a bunch of realizations about my life.
You were like, oh wait, this is starting to make sense right now.
it was crazy. Yeah, I was in a big lecturable class and the teacher was talking about auditory-visual synesthesia, and I just remember my face getting bright red, and I was in a class of 200 students, and I really wanted to raise my hand and say, hey, please tell me more, and oh my gosh, I think this is a thing I've experienced. But at 22, you don't want to draw attention to yourself in front of a bunch of other college students, so I didn't say anything at that time.
You sound like an introvert like me, Sarah. It sounds like you would prefer if the attention was not on you.
Not in that way. I'm okay in front of an audience for a bit, but I don't want to share all of the personal secrets of
That's perfect. That's fair. So I would imagine that this was all kind of like mind like opening to you when you were sitting in that class. You're like, wait a second, I
Yeah.
think that I am experiencing this. Um, did it did it or does it make your life difficult at all?
That's a hard thing to answer because to me, it's just like another sense. So it's like asking, hey, does sight make your
Mm,
life difficult? Sometimes you see things that are maybe rather you didn't see, or it's a little distracting. Um, I wouldn't wish that I didn't have it, but it does have things that I struggle with. So when I was going through school, a lot of times teachers would play music in the background while we were testing, and I couldn't finish a test because I was distracted by colors and patterns and shapes. So we'd get to the end of a test and I'd have a blank sheet of paper, and the teachers couldn't figure out why I couldn't finish my test. I couldn't really explain why. I didn't understand that it was synesthesia. I just knew I couldn't focus. So yeah, I've had to adapt in a lot of different
yeah.
ways to how much sound impacts me, because sound is everywhere. I don't know if you know,
Yeah. Yeah,
but
like legit. And like I think that because we're surrounded by it so much,
yeah,
we kind of in a way take it for granted, you know, like and we hear it so much that I guess it is easy to like just tune it out because we just hear it so much. But when the sound becomes visual, it becomes a little bit more difficult to just like not be aware of it, I would imagine for you.
that's true. I
Yeah.
appreciate that insight. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god. No, that's crazy. So like, so when we were at the Libera Awards, um, and I was saying this to you like right before we started recording, like I knew that you talked a lot about synesthesia, but I did not understand the whole concept of it really until I was prepping for this. And I was like, I was sitting here, I was like, oh my God. Because at the Liberia Awards, we were in a very loud area. Like it was like there was music blasting, there were tons of conversation happening, there were light bulbs, you know,
Yeah.
going off with lights and like all of this stuff kind of happening. So when you're in that kind of environment, when there's so much noise and there's so many different sounds that are happening, can you explain what that kind of environment is like for you?
Overwhelming.
Sure.
It's a lot. Um, I like to be around people a lot. And so I guess this is one of the challenging elements, because being around a lot of people in moments, I like to be around a lot of people. And yeah, there's a lot of noise with a lot of people. So at the Liberia Awards, that I have never been to a proper award show like that before. So I didn't
Mhm.
entirely know what to expect. But yeah, it was loud. It was crowded, that
Yeah.
people were having a good time. There was music. And I mean, I had to use some strategies. So I don't know if you noticed this, but I did disappear from time to time throughout the
Right.
night.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that would be me. I would go into another room, I'd find a quiet hall and just take 30 seconds and kind of let the noise dissipate and sort of
Yeah.
center and breathe. But it required a lot of focus to be able to focus on what people were saying. Thankfully,
Yeah.
you're very engaging, so that helped a lot. But that was a challenge. I definitely went home and I just wanted to sleep for like the
I'm
next.
sure. Yeah, and like I don't I really like I'm kind of like legit I was like kicking myself, like no lie,
Yeah.
like when I was prepping for this because I was like I was just so ignorant to what you were going through that night. Um and like I mean it was even without synesthesia, I mean that was an overwhelming night just in general. There was
Yes.
like so much kind of like that was happening that night. And I was like, man, I wish I would have known that it was like like incredibly overwhelming for you at times. And I did notice that you would go away, but honestly in my brain I'm like, oh, she's out to take pictures or to film content or to talk to somebody. Like honestly that was what was in my head, and at no point did it click to me until like legit yesterday. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, wait a
Yeah.
second.
Well, that means so much to me for you to for
Yeah.
you to say, because it's the kind of thing where, because I've lived with it and because I've kept it to myself, I don't really share with people, hey, like I'm
Yeah.
having a really hard time with the noise. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
outside. So for you to even say that is just so empathetic, and I appreciate it.
Legit. No, I'm like, I probably, if I would have like not been stupid and realized what was happening, I probably legit would have dragged you outside like a bunch of times and be like, hey, okay,
Oh,
let's get some fresh air for like a second, because I honestly probably would have dragged you. Because like even getting to like the bar, like we had to like duck and weave through like an obstacle course.
totally. It was a
Like,
challenge
oh,
of like, yes, it was an
oh my
obstacle course
gosh.
for sure.
So you go through a night like that, you get back to your room, how do you decompress from all of that? Do you sit in silence, or do you just like how do you decompress from that?
Yeah, I sit in silence. I have a whole routine that
Mhm.
I think is a little ridiculous, but every night before I go to bed, when I sleep, because I wake to noise so easily, it could be something in 3 rooms over, it could be a tiny tapping, but my brain registers it as colors and shapes, so I'll wake straight up. So when I get home from a night like that, and just in general, I sleep with earplugs. So that night before I needed to go to sleep, I came in the hotel room, put in my earplugs straight away. I have noise canceling, sort of just like white noise, to
Mhm.
drown out sort of random sounds.
Yeah.
One on either side of the bed in the hotel room. So I put both of those on straight away. And then I also have like a really silly looking Bluetooth headset, sleep headphone thing.
Mhm.
This is like a cloth band.
Yeah.
I put that around my head and then I put white noise on that. So I'm in this cocoon of just white noise.
Yeah.
So I know what to expect for the next 8 hours, 10 hours sound wise. And I just
Wow.
stayed there.
Oh my God, like so much is just hitting me like now, like when I, because I walked you back to your hotel, and like so much is just hitting me now, and I'm like sitting there gabbing my face off. I'm just like, "Blah, blah, blah, let me tell you about the blah, blah, blah." I'm just talking your face off, and then I'm like, oh my God, wait a
Oh, I
second, she
loved it.
probably just wanted to just walk in silence.
No, it was great. It was honestly great. And thank you, by the way, for walking
Yeah,
me
of
back in New York
course. Oh my
City.
gosh, of course.
But yeah, no, I was so happy to be able to talk,
Yeah.
because talking to one person, I can do that just fine. I
Mhm.
love that.
Yeah.
It's just when there are lots of competing sounds
Oh,
that
sure, sure. So one of the things that you do that I find incredibly fascinating is that you take this synesthesia and you make art out of it.
yeah.
Um, how does that work? Like so like do you like play a sound, or you listen to music and then just kind of paint or draw from that? Like how does that all work for you?
Yeah. So that's something, this is a new thing I'm sharing with people. I have always painted. So
Hmm.
for me, music especially is really vivid and dynamic. So all sounds have some sort of visual associated with them for me. That's automatic. But music, because of all of the highs and lows, it's just beautiful. Yeah, it's so overwhelming and pretty to look at for me
Hmm.
that I've wanted to paint it throughout my life. And through social media, I just offhand mentioned that I did this for myself from time to time. I never share the paintings with anyone historically, they're just for me. And people wanted to see it. But when I paint, my process is I'll just listen to a song and I'll paint it live. I don't really think, or I don't plan what I'm going to paint. And I'll just go and I'll keep replaying the song till I feel the painting is done and I've put enough on the canvas that were like the coolest elements of what I was
Yeah.
seeing. I can't capture everything in one painting. So yeah, that's
That's so cool. I like, because it's funny you say that, because I'm like redoing everything in my house right now, and
nice.
I'm definitely gonna, I want to get like a commissioned like thing. I want to like send you a song, like one of my favorite songs, and whatever like comes to like mind, I would love to have you just like paint it so I can hang it up in my house.
I'd love to make a painting for you. It's
Yeah.
so meaningful for me when I get to do it for somebody I know too.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh,
I need
absolutely.
to
No, we're
share
gonna
what I
chat.
see with you. Fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I would love to have that. And so people are like coming up to you saying, "Hey, like you're doing like commissioned work now from this, right?"
Yeah, and it was really overwhelming when it started because, like
Sure.
I said, this was something that was so private. I know this is kind of it's a strange thing. A lot of people haven't heard of synesthesia,
Mhm.
even though 2 to 4% of the world they estimate has it, which is
Right.
a number. But yeah, now I do pretty regular commission work, and I
That's
partner
so
with
cool.
musicians and we'll paint their music and
That's amazing. And you kind of alluded to this before, but you talk pretty openly about synesthesia on your social media platforms, specifically on TikTok and all of that. What has that been like for you, to find like a community of supporters that want to hear your story, that will see this and find it fascinating, or want to support you in some sort of way? What has that been like for you?
So for me, it's been the most meaningful thing is that to me, it's a thing that if it were just me and it was confined to me, I probably wouldn't talk about it that much. But really quickly, people would private message me or comment and say that either they themselves also have synesthesia and they felt validated and like they felt represented, or they would, like you, just be an incredible person who had questions that they wanted to get answered about it. And so it's been really affirming to be able to share this thing that I've held private, and to know that in some small way it's helping other people feel a little more seen and feel like they can maybe talk about their own uniqueness a little bit. And it doesn't just stay limited with synesthesia. I think lots of people, we all have beautiful differences. And so being able to speak about that and to celebrate that is what I love about the whole experience.
Have you found like a group of people that that you I guess are constantly just talking with about your synesthesia, that might also have it too, that like you kind of like compare like war stories or something? Like do you have like a group of people like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I found like your soul tribe, my soul family in the past 2 years, which is wild. So I've met some of my closest friends are people who have a form of synesthesia, and we're able to share elements of our childhood, things that we've never talked about with anybody else, and we found each other through social media and support each other's journeys. And a lot of them are artists, interestingly, so we can talk about that as well. And
so if you could give any advice to somebody that might be potentially diagnosed with synesthesia, or might already be diagnosed, or might think they might have it, whatever it may be, if you can give any piece of advice to anybody experiencing synesthesia, what would you say to them right now if they're listening?
I'd say there's nothing wrong with you, and I'd say it's part of what makes you you and unique. I think that's the fear I've heard from a lot of people with synesthesia. They grew up thinking maybe something was really wrong with them. And it's been meaningful to me to realize that there wasn't anything wrong with me. It's part of me.
That's amazing. I want to talk about you kind of mentioned this before about just the various artists that you work with, and the company that you work for is a company called Artist Growth, which I had a really cool opportunity to like just meet the people, that like the man behind the curtain. I got to meet so many incredible people that work for that company. For the people that don't know what Artist Growth is, can you explain to them what it is and what the goal is of that company?
Yeah. So Artist Growth, it's a platform that was started 10 years ago by a musician. And the whole purpose of it, it's a platform that helps creative entrepreneurs manage all aspects of their creative business. So it helps, it specifically started with musicians. So you could manage your tours, you could manage your finances, you could communicate with your tour managers if you had one, at all levels of the creative journey, from just getting started, kind of doing DIY hobby, artwork, musicianship, all the way to, pretty well-known career musicians. It was a platform for them. And the founder of Artist Growth, Matt Ermy, he started the company to put the power back in the hands of artists, to help them feel empowered and like they could make a living and have a career as an artist. And they've had a wonderful journey with musicians, and now they're expanding to all types of artists. So I came on this past year, and my goal is to help them expand and to bring the platform to visual artists, to video creators, to podcasters, to help.
That's amazing. That's so cool, and that you get to be a part of this journey, and that's one of the reasons why we got to go to the Libera Awards, because it celebrates various artists in the music industry, which is an industry that I am just not familiar with. So I can't tell you, I've learned so much in like the little time that I was there, you know, speaking with people and learning various things about the music industry. That's really, really cool that you get to work on that. How, like, when you start your workday, like, how excited are you every day to like kind of work on something like that's legit still like on the ground up, like building its growth?
It's very fun. It's
Yeah.
unlike any job I've ever had because everybody on the team is like a creative themselves.
Yeah.
So and they're all really, they really care, which is the thing a lot of companies say, but everybody cares because we've all been at different parts in the artist journey where we've wanted to feel support. And so yeah, it's great. I
Yeah.
love being able to be excited before I go to work.
That's a good thing, because not a lot of people, I'm pretty sure there's people that are listening to this right now being like, what is it like to be excited to go to work? What is that like? Tell me more.
And I never had that until this year. So like,
Yeah.
but you can find it. It's out there. You just have to, own, you know, what you're good at and what you're interested in.
Yeah, that's, oh my God, that's so cool. And on top of that, on top of like all the things that we've talked about already, you're also a writer on top of all of that. You have so many different hats. I'm just going to keep bouncing back and forth between that all the hats that you have. You're also a writer, and if I'm not mistaken, you recently did a staged reading of a show called Soundscapes. Am I correct?
Yeah.
At NYU. It was written by yourself and Claudia Haas. Did I say it right?
Yes, I'm so impressed that you did your research.
Of course, I'm gonna do my research. I don't go into this blind. I'm coming ready to go.
Of course, it didn't be a surprise to me, but yeah.
But yeah, you got to you put together this whole like thing, and they did a staged reading. How did that go? That was fairly recent. How did that go?
It was great. It was a dream come true. It was a play. So my Claudia Haas, she's a career playwright. She's had a lot of success, and I worked with her as an actress growing up. So she was my director, and I did a lot of performing growing up. And she approached me about a project through social media. She saw that I had synesthesia. She's wanted to write about synesthesia her entire career, but not having it herself, she wanted to be able to do it with actual representation and to co-write it. So when she found out that I had it, she invited me to be part of this project, and we developed it at NYU. We were really lucky to be able to do that, and now we're looking to finalize it, get it produced and published, and start pushing it out.
I hope you know that the next time that it does like a stage reading or a performance, I'm there front row, right? I hope you know that.
I love that. I will give you, I will invite you, and I will fly you out because
I want to see it, and I want to support you, because you're like legit every single thing that you tell me that you do, I'm just like in awe, right? Because you work your ass off, you're flying all over the country, you're like, you have so many different hats on, and on top of all of that, you find a way to just stay grounded and genuine, and there's not a lot of people out there that are like that. You know, I've met a lot of people.
Thank you so much. You could
also. Oh, I'm sorry. I was reading about myself. I apologize. That's all me. I was reading my notes for me. I apologize. No, I mean it, like legit. Like I knew from like the second that because we met in a bar before the Libera Awards, and like we were talking like, and by the way, I appreciate that you do voice texting as well, because like I appreciate that, like legit. It saves so much time.
I love it.
But I knew, like, because we were talking like there, but like I knew how genuine you were from the minute that you walked into that bar that we met, like at that bar that night. And I was like, oh, she's genuine. Like it's not a face that she puts on. Like this is like an actual real genuine person. And I just wanted to make sure that I let you know that.
Thank you. I had the exact same impression of you, and I knew to both of our mutual contacts, that's what they told me about you, and that was partially why, if I was going to spend a night with a person that I didn't know very well at this very overwhelming thing, I wanted to do it with somebody who was genuine and heart-centered. And obviously, you can see that all throughout your content, and you're the same person in person.
That's true.
You just are the same person, which again, it is so rare. So thank you, and also. Exactly, I felt the exact same about you. So.
I appreciate that, like honestly. I guess my last question to you is this. I alluded to this before about how you you're always traveling, you're always working hard. While you're doing that, while writing and producing things and creating things, all with synesthesia. How do you, at the end of the day, just like ground yourself, like not just like literally, but just like keep yourself like from going insane? Like what do you since you wear so many different hats, how do you just like
Yeah.
ground yourself?
I mean, the truth is, I'm figuring that out all the time. This is all I've ever wanted in my life, is to live in a creative space, to work with other creatives and heart-centered people. And I took a detour. So I worked in the medical industry. That's very heart-centered, but to me, it wasn't a creative industry for me. So I think each day, because this is all just so me, this is just like who I am as somebody who wants to live and work in this type of environment, it's easy to feel grounded. And then also my earplugs and all of the things that I put on at night.
Yeah.
Cutting it all out sometimes,
Yeah.
And being really consistent about that.
I think a lot of people can learn from that though, because obviously you'll shut things out, just for literally like legit just to stay sane because of the synesthesia. But I think in general, I think that's an important thing to do, like for anybody, just to kind of take a moment, because I try to do that sometimes. It's hard for me, but like I try to just take a step back and just like be in the moment, not worry about, what's happening tomorrow, or not worry about, what happened earlier that day, whatever it may be. I try to just be in the moment, take in what's happening around me. And like, that's how I ground myself, just like, okay, what happened, what's going to happen will happen. I can't control really anything from that standpoint, but I can control who I am right now.
Yeah.
Right. And right now I'm just gonna just like live in the moment. And I think, even people that do not have synesthesia, I think they can learn a lot from you in that regard, of just like drowning out the noise, both figuratively and literally.
It's universal, and it's so hard to do. And I mean, for you, I was going to ask how you do it, because you wear a million hats, and especially when you do what you love,
Yeah.
it's really tempting to keep going. And I've burnt out already so many times when I take a day where I shut everything out.
It's really hard for me. It's very, very difficult. And like I'm still learning myself, because like my growth on these platforms, on TikTok and Instagram, like it wasn't planned, and now that the fact I'm at like 750,000 followers, like that in and of itself, it's just mind blowing to me. I never planned for that to happen. So it's really difficult. And I'm learning just how to just like chill, because I want to conquer the world. Like legit, that's just my mindset. I want to conquer the world. I work my ass off every day, making content or working behind the scenes on projects that people don't even know about. And then on top of that, working my 9 to 5.
Yeah, I know you would. Yeah, I was struck by that when we were at that bar and you were telling me what you did, and I thought, when do you sleep? Like, when do you?
What's that?
What is sleep?
What
I know.
is that? Sleep? What are you talking about? That's so weird. It's a concept I've heard about. I don't know if it's true or not. But no, honestly, I've learned a lot from you, just like obviously in the last half hour, but even when we got to hang out and all of the projects that that we will potentially be working on together. Like this is so exciting to me. I'm so excited to have you in my life. And like I'm like, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for being a friend.
Thank you. You were one of those people where sometimes you just meet somebody and you vibe. Vibe with Kai. And you're like, this is going to be like a person that I'm going to see again, and we're going to hang out, and we're friends now.
Absolutely. You can't get rid of me. It's too late, Sarah.
We're friends now. Sorry, Kai.
Damn it. I was too friendly to you. I was hoping that I was really mean to you today, and you'd say, screw it, I'm out.
It's possible for you.
I love it. My friends, if you enjoyed Sarah, if you're like, hey, I like what she's all about, I'm a big fan of that. I don't know why, if you're watching this right now, I don't know why I did this with my hands, but apparently it's all choreographed, Sarah. It's all choreographed. If you enjoyed Sarah, legit, I put all of her information, about how you can learn more about synesthesia, all learn more about her, like by visiting her social handles. I put all of that in the description of the podcast, so just click on that. You'll get all the information that you need. Sarah, thank you again for sitting and chatting with me. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Kai. Thank you
Yes.
for being you and for doing all the amazing things that you do.
I'm just me. I'm just a nerd. That's all I am. That's all I am.
Yeah. Best. Best.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. Everybody else, if you enjoyed what you were listening to today, please be sure, if you're not already, follow me on Patreon, where you get even more exclusive stuff that you're not going to see anywhere else. Go follow me there on Patreon, only $5 a month. Thank you again, Sarah, for sitting with me. Everybody else, thank you so much for hanging out with me, for watching, and for listening. As always, God bless and good vibes. Bye.
Bye.